I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like it hasn't gotten any better. He's only proved time and time again to be a piece of shit to all the people around him. And unless you end up
Yeah.
like defending him relentlessly, he's not going to do jack shit for you.
Xander, tell us about how he doxed the pay piggies. Is this something that really happened?
Oh yeah. Oh, so this is oh god, that's like a longer story, but essentially like he used to have these roles for people in his chat, and he would have this little club inside of his chat with Zoom where like if they fucked with people who were his pay pigs inside of his chat, like they would get special image posting privileges or bypassing different things in the Discord. So he was essentially not the one doing the like doxing of his pay pigs, but he was rewarding the activity of harassing and doxing the pay pigs in his Discord because he'd sit around getting drunk and laughing at them in VC while it was happening and watching people react in the Discord. It's sick. You know, why would you fucking do that to like your own fucking fans in your own Discord?
Now, do you have any sort of evidence on hand that would showcase this at all, Xander, or do we just got to take your word for it?
On hand. Oh shit. I do have evidence of that. I have it as far as like Mustard and Zoom saying it, and some of the DMs through there. But I would have to be digging for that one. You
Okay,
that would have been a good question to ask beforehand. I don't think I can pull
that's
that
all
one
right.
up as quickly.
See if you can pull it up quickly. If not, I'll move on to the next thing because there's a lot of stuff we want to cover from this era. Because I find a lot of parallels between what happened on Stream Me during this period of time and what's happening on D Live right now, where Ralph had control of the moderators, the administrators of Stream Me, and he blackmailed them into banning people. We're going to talk about some of those people, including the restream, is what I'm going to transition into next. But he also doxed his own supporters, his own financial supporters, and fucked them over. And I think it's important for anybody that ever actually supports Ethan Ralph to understand that he doesn't give a shit about you and he'll sacrifice you up on the altar at the slightest inconvenience to him.
And
And
at the minimum, even if you don't buy in or believe or trust me on that side of the story, at the minimum, you have to understand that there was doxing that occurred and there was like user like his own pay pigs and supporters information going out there, and he didn't even bother to alert, let his like fans know, to try and give them a heads up, to try and he did nothing in order to try and mitigate the issue or give people a heads up ahead of time in order to help them with their own OPSEC. Like, he just let it happen and didn't give a single fuck about any of this. So even if you don't believe that he was involved or knew about it, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that he was aware and didn't even bother providing any type of heads up until called out about it in such a broad sense of the whole scheme.
people blame Ethan for the demise of Stream.me. People place all the blame on him for the death of the website. Would you say that that's fair or accurate, Xander, that Ralph is responsible for the death of streaming?
I mean, ultimately, if you boil it down to like a root cause, absolutely. He was the, I guess, like the catalyst for everything happening. If it wasn't for his touch and his presence there and the way he interacted with other users and streamers on the site, it would never have gotten to the point where it was so bad that the owners essentially gave up on that entire place in order to protect their other assets and investments and other sites. He really just kind of brought out the worst in a lot of the members of his own community and a lot of the members of like similar streams, and put people against each other and leveraged things in order to try and advance himself while destroying everything in his touch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fucked up situation. People who are there know and they understand, but it's tough for people who weren't there at that moment in time to understand that this man, through the sheer toxicity of his presence, because of the people that grew up around him, people that fucking hated him, and the people who watched him, the plate gang motherfuckers, all this shit, that eventually Stream Me was fucking destroyed. And you might not say, oh, it was directly as a result of him, but certainly indirectly he was a massive factor in the demise of that website, which a lot of people really enjoyed that website. People to this day still can't get over its death. And they had a lot of fun there and people were making good money there. But Ethan Ralph destroyed it. And D Live looks like to me the next Stream Me, the next site that he just takes down completely through his cancer. And then Nick Fuentes won't have a platform. Owen Benjamin won't have a platform. People on this website right now, they'll be platformless, and it'll all be this fucking fat drunk retard's fault. and it's a real shame. I just wanted to mention briefly, do you want to give us a little bit of the story of the infamous Xander, I did not dox him. No, it's not true. It's not true. Do you want to give us a little bit of the story of that, your greatest moment, really?
Yeah, so I gotta think back to this one a little bit for the actual context behind it. But if I remember correctly, this was right when Lord Akira's docs had just magically appeared on 8chan after basically Lord Akira and Ralph had gotten into it via DMs. And the timing on the entire event was oh so perfect, where it was within 20-minute time span, I believe, where this like falling out of one of Ralph's biggest pay pigs, or not biggest, but at least one of his substantial pay pigs who'd been there for a while, is saying basically he had some criticisms of Ralph, and because he had a few criticisms of Ralph and he didn't like him, that somehow his docs just magically appeared on 8chan shortly after. And no one else is going to be able to know that they were DMing and having this little fight inside of their actual Twitter DMs. So the timing of it is extremely suspect. Now, if the matter is like whether it's not it's Ethan Ralph who was the one who actually dropped it, or if Ralph was bitching in some back channel Discord about it and one of his, one of the Plate Gang dropped it as well, like, I don't think the details exactly matter on that event. But what was very clear was there was a fight, and within a short period of time, someone got doxxed on 8chan because of it. And essentially, it was like, okay, well, if we're gonna look at like the scenario here, like you probably doxed him, you probably led to this, you probably encouraged it, and it's just how else would this have been so perfectly timed? On top of the fact that you had the access to the information, you had the availability to it, and you were clearly trying to threaten him with something. So that's all I did was I presented that to him, and Ralph was seething about it. He was absolutely livid about the fact that I was saying that he was the one to do it. Because look, maybe he's not the one to do it, and he can morally hold on to the fact that he didn't technically do it. But he was involved at some point, I believe.
Wow. Okay. I'm glad you've got that out in the open there for people who didn't maybe know about all that shit.